Hello everybody, welcome back to the homestead. So today we're working on canning up some pears. We went up to the cabin. I had gotten pears beforehand. We got 2 bushels. I put them in the basement hoping that they'd be okay by the time we got home, but they are very, very ripe and need to be canned up. I will be canning pear butter. I will be canning pear slices. I will be canning pear pie filling and probably some pear scrap jelly as well. So I'd like to take you along and show you how I do that. Started with peeling and coring my pears. So these will be for pear slices. I'm keeping the scraps here so that I can boil it down and make some pear scrap jelly. I also have pear scraps in my jars here so I can make some pear scrap vinegar. So these are what the pears look like. And you can tell they need to be done like right away. So that is what I will be doing today. Started off putting some pears in my slow cooker here. They're going to cook down with 4 cups of sugar, zest of lemon, and some lemon juice. I'll throw in some nutmeg and some cinnamon later. And that will be for the pear butter. I can go through that recipe later when I'm canning it. And I can also list that in the description below. So here I'm just putting filtered water in with all of my pear scraps. I'm going to boil this down and this will create a pear juice that I can use in my pear pie filling and in my pear jelly. So any of my mushier pears or the pears that just will not make good slices, I am putting in here and I'm going to make a pear sauce with them. I'm leaving the peels on. I do that with my applesauce as well. I'll just blend it all up. There's so much nutrition found in the peel that I don't really want to get rid of it, and with this amount of pears it's also just good time management for me. I have all of my jars in my canner and they're just heating up in some water. That's just to sterilize them. I'll get the lids in some hot water as well, not boiling, just hot. And I'm going to get going on my syrup for my canned pears. I am doing an ultra light version of this syrup for my pears, and I'm doing a double batch just to make sure that I have enough. So I've got 10 cups of filtered water here and 1 cup of sugar. So I'll get that all dissolved, that sugar all dissolved in that water, and then I'll get to canning my pears. So I am just going to raw pack these pears into my hot jars, and then I'm going to get the syrup and fill the syrup to a 1/2 inch headspace. So I'm just filling these jars with the syrup until it's a 1/2 inch headspace, and then I'm going to wipe the rim of the jars and get them into my canner. Also forgot to mention that you should get a wooden utensil and just stick it in there, get rid of all of your bubbles, and then you can wipe off the rim and put it in your canner. I have 11 pints in the canner right now, and I'm going to wait until this water comes to a rolling boil, and then I am going to time for 20 minutes. And once the 20 minutes is done, I can turn off the heat. I'm going to leave them in the canner for a little bit, and then I can take them out of the canner. It's just to keep it from the pressure changing too quickly, and then the syrup kind of comes out the lids, and then you don't really get a good seal after that. So while this is going, I am going to go back to my pears and I am going to start peeling them some more and getting more ready for another batch of pears and syrup. I have my pear scrap vinegar sitting here. So what I did is put all my scraps from my pears in here, and then I added 4 cups of water and a 1/2 cup of sugar and a splash of a live vinegar. So if you have a live vinegar with a mother, you can use that. Bragg's apple cider vinegar is also a good option. So that's what I've used. And I'm gonna let this sit and ferment for a few weeks. I'm gonna stir it every day just to make sure no mold appears on the top. And then after a couple of weeks, it should be fermented enough for me to take out the pear scraps, and then it'll ferment a little bit more. All right, so it's the next day, and after processing my pear sauce down, I realized I didn't have a lot of it, so I took my pear butter, which had not cooked down very much. It was still just more of a pear sauce, and I combined it. I decided that I had already done a lot of peach butter, so I think that we might just stick to more pear sauce. Now this is dark in color just because I've added cloves. I've added about 2 tablespoons of cloves, or teaspoons, sorry, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and a couple teaspoons of nutmeg. I've also added a little bit of maple syrup. So I'm going to cook this down because it's very liquidy right now, and I'll can it a little bit later. Here I've also started slicing up the rest of my pears, and I'm going to do pear pie filling here, and I'm saving more for, once again, more pear sauce. These are the pears that are a bit too mushy or won't really make good slices, so they'll just get tossed in here for pear sauce, and I know my kids will eat it right up. So the skins and the cores, I'm going to save these, and I think I'm going to go get a bottle of gin or a bottle of rum and do a spiced pear drink for the winter. So I have taken my pear scraps that I had put in water, filtered water, and I was kind of simmering them. I'm now draining them to get the pear juice out of them, so that way I can add the pear juice to my apple or my pear pie filling, and I can also make a pear jelly. Right now I am getting most of my recipes from this Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. I am going to use the apple pie filling recipe for my pear pies, and I believe it's the apple sauce recipe that I'm also using. So there's a little peek at it. That's basically what I'll be using, and I'll take you along while I'm doing that. All right, so for my pear pie filling, I have got 2 3/4 cup sugar. I've got some clear gel, 3/4 cup clear gel in there. 1.5 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1 1/4 cups of cold water. I have 2.5 cups of the pear juice that I got from boiling my pear scraps, and I've got 1/2 cup of lemon juice. I'm just going to bring this to a boil now. Right, so I boiled this mixture for a minute, and then I added my 12 cups of pears, and now I am just warming up my jars here so I can get ready to can them. I've ladled my pie filling into my jar. I'm leaving 1 inch of headspace, and I removed the air bubbles, wiped the rim, and now I'm going to get my lid off and get it in the canner. So I got all my jars in the canner, and they are going to boil on high for 25 minutes. All right, so I'm getting ready to can up my pear sauce. I think there's about 24 pounds of pears. I've got 8 tablespoons of lemon juice. I put in some maple syrup. I want to say about 4 cups. And I just added in some vanilla, so it smells lovely in here. I also added in some cinnamon and nutmeg. So I'm going to get these in my pint jars, and I am going to can them for 20 minutes. All right, so I have my sauce all canned up, and now I'm getting ready to make jelly with the juice that I got from the pear scraps that I had boiled down. So I'm using 4 cups per batch of jelly, and I'll show you what I'm doing with that now. And with my peach scraps that I need to just do 1 batch of jelly at a time. I can't be doubling it, otherwise you end up with just syrup. So I'm starting off with 4 cups in this pot and 4 cups in this pot, and we will make 2 batches of jelly with this. So I've added 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and 2/3 cup of unsweetened juice along with my pear juice, and I'm going to bring this to a boil. I've also added my pectin. I'm going to bring this to a boil so that it can't be stirred down, and once it's boiling I will add my sugar and then bring it to a boil once again. I added 1 cup of sugar as I'm doing a low sugar recipe, and I'm bringing this to a boil for 1 minute, and then I'll take it off and get it into my jars and get it into the canner. I just added my sugar to this one, and I'm waiting for it to come to another boil so it can boil for 1 minute. I've ladled this into my jars. I am leaving a 1/4 inch headspace, and then I'm going to put these in the canner for 10 minutes. All right, that ends our pear preservation fest. So at the end of this, we got 8 jars of pear jelly, 19 jars of pears and syrup. I got, I think, 14 jars of apple pie or pear pie filling, 12 jars of pear sauce, and then I've got 1 quart of pear sauce and 1 quart of pear pie filling. So that's 2 bushels, all prepared right here. And then behind me here, I have pear scrapped brandy. So what I'm doing is I am infusing brandy with pear, cinnamon, and honey. And I'm going to infuse this for the next couple of months. And then at Christmas time, we're going to have a lovely little drink as a treat. Anyways, I hope you guys have found this useful. And please remember to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.